What is up, ladies and gents? Noli here. Welcome to another Payday video. I apologize I wasn't able to get the Elaborate Death Wish video out on time. Basically, the problem with that mission is on Death Wish, it lags a lot, especially when recording. Not only does that make a particularly hard achievement even harder to get, it also means it's not gameplay you guys would ever want to see. So instead, let's go back to my bread and butter. Let's do a build video. Haven't done a build in a while, and especially not a loud heavy build. And this is one hell of a loud heavy build. It's called the Counter-Operative build. It's designed to counter many of the trouble enemies within the game and make you an all-around slayer. While there's not an awful lot of utility going into this build, what you will be good at is holding down areas, defending your team and allowing them to do the objective as best as possible. So let's quickly take a look at the skills, and as soon as we've done that, I'm going to move on to some gameplay and talk about a few of the other elements. So, first of all, let's start by looking at Mastermind. As you'd expect, Endurance, I always like to pick this up on basically every build. Simple as that. Enforcer is a lot more complicated. That's where most of our skills lie, some of which are very standard, like Transporter, Pumping Iron. There's going to be a big emphasis on melee within this build. You'll see that later on, and we're using the Katana, of course, so expect a lot of damage coming in from that. But some of the standout skills, you'll see Bullet Storm, one of my favourite skills on the Crit Minigun build. It works just as well with LMGs, especially now we've got the bipod on it. We can set up on an area, set your ammo up next to you so you're ready to restock at any point, and basically shoot for 30 seconds straight without expending a single bullet or having to reload. It really ramps up the DPS of this build. Moving on up, we have Tough Guy. Single point had to go somewhere. Stun resistance, pretty standard on most loud builds. And then Shotgun Impact. You might have noticed that we are using the Locomotive 12 gauge as our secondary. The shotguns were changed a little bit within the weapon rebalance during Crime Wave, but generally they're still just as strong as they were, and the Locomotive always been one of the best secondaries, and it still is. So I see no reason not to focus on some shotgun skills, and because this build already excels from medium to long range with the bipod LMG, I thought I'd bring in a little more close range with the shotgun secondary. And one of the main aims with this build really is versatility. It really has a lot of options for every situation. So, of course, whenever I use Bullet Storm, I always pick up Ammo Specialist, fully ace that out. Shotgun CQB, reload speed's really important. One of the main drawbacks of this is the LMG reloads slowly. There's nothing you can do about that. So you want a reliable secondary in the Locomotive, and reload speed on that makes it that bit more reliable. Berserker is a fun skill really. It's designed to make the Katana a little stronger. I've only basic this out, though I can see reason if you have the points and you want to move them around to ace this out, because the LMG doing 100% more damage is scary. But just basing it out means if you get in a pinch, you can quickly swing around with the Katana and maybe pick up some kills, and we'll see later on through the perk deck, maybe get some health back. Fully loaded I always like. It's useful for both the LMG and the shotgun, but the LMG in particular, you want to be able to shoot that for as long as possible without having to resupply your ammo, though you are bringing a lot along. You want that ammo to be usable by your teammates more than anything, because that is your main utility. You'll notice I ace out Iron Man at the top of the skill tree. You expect that within loud builds at least to be basiced out to get the improved combined tactical vest. However, I decided, as this is the counter build designed to be effective against every enemy type, and the shotgun and the LMG doesn't have any real natural synergy against shields, let's ace this one out, allowing you to knock them down. With the Katana, a single swing will knock them backwards. If you move around to the side and get a single swing on the body after that, that's a one-shot kill, because of course the Katana, one of the only melee weapons that swings quickly and does more than 100 damage, one-shotting shields. That is only on the overkill difficulty, of course, but it's just one extra swing on Death Wish. So, Overkill is the last skill we have in the Enforcer skill tree. You'd expect that really. When I'm using a shotgun, you're always going to want to basic this out. It's what makes shotguns really powerful and viable. The second main place of the where all our skills are going into is the Technician skill tree. It's sort of a standard tech forcer in that way, but we're moving away from using C4, of course we're using ammo, we're not using sentries either. Instead, we're looking for these skills up on the far right hand side, including the drill skills and nerves of steel. However, one of the main drawbacks, one of the reasons the technician skill tree isn't strong, is that to get up to those skills, you often find yourself dumping into places where you don't need them. These 4 skills, entirely unnecessary, but points go in simply to get us up to the higher ranks. Nerves of Steel, on the other hand, really goes well with this build, making you much tankier, which is the aim of the game, especially when operating things. Now, drill skills, you'll notice, is another focus of this build. That is the second point of utility you carry. You have the faster drills. So with Nerves of Steel, it makes you the drill man. You may as well stick by the drill, hold down the area, and whenever it breaks, grab it and get that 50% damage reduction. So, Silent Breaching up here is another wasted skill, 4 points down the drain, but it's required to get us on up to Shockproof. Shockproof is a skill I'm a massive fan of, and I actually think it's one of the most underrated in the game. Again, counterplay is the focus of this build. So how are we going to counter a taser with a shotgun? Yeah, it's not bad. You can get a lucky shot straight to the head and one-shot them. But what about if you're caught out with the LMG? You're going to waste loads of bullets. Let's be honest, the LMGs aren't the highest damage, though they have high DPS. So you're going to waste loads of bullets and probably not knock back the taser, run out of ammo, and get taken down by just a single taser. That is a problem. So where is the counterplay? It's found within Shockproof. Essentially, the first taser shot on you is going to knock them down, making them easy pickings. However, if you're focused on a different fight, or if you're stuck, as the idea was in bipod mode, holding down an area, the second strike will pull you out of that and cause you massive problems, unless you ace this out. At that point, you can simply interact with the taser, knocking them down, again making them easy to kill, and cut their health in half. So, massive fan of Shockproof, and it works really nicely in the counter-ops build. Finally, Bulletproof. You need this really to make the improved combined tactical vest worthwhile, and it's one of the main reasons you have to sink all these points in to get up there. Finally, really, we have some ghost skills, martial arts, pick it up. There's some melee focus, though the main idea with the katana is you kill, not knock down, so you can definitely think about putting this elsewhere, maybe even in cleaner for just that 5% bonus damage against specials. Sprinter and fast hands should be in basically every build, so that's why they're there. Let's move on to some gameplay while I talk about some of the other elements of the build. So as we get into the gameplay, let's start by taking a look at the perk deck of choice, the Sociopath. Now the Sociopath has increasingly become one of my favourite loud, heavy armoured perk decks. There's a lot of utility skills and it feels like grinder for heavy builds. In that while there's not the constant health regeneration, you do have the ability, as long as you keep killing, to keep your armor regenerated, and of course there's that very useful health regen found within melee. So the general idea of this is that you are much more capable at medium to close range. Of course you've got skills like No Talk giving you 8% damage resistance, and then you've got skills like Tension and Overdose allowing you to regenerate armor when you kill enemies. In doing that, it does allow you to take an additional bullet or two each time, and it does function in a similar way to Grinder. Admittedly not as strong, but of course you are heavily armored, so you can't use Grinder. This is the best option in that case. Now, Clean Hit is one of the most useful skills I've found within this perk deck, because you don't have any innate regeneration, you haven't brought first aid meds, you've not got doctor's bags, so you're relying on the goodness of other players, which sometimes only goes so far. So we pick up Clean Hit, so when we get down, say we get down by a cloaker and we're just on an awkwardly low amount of health, we can push our way back on up by getting kills easily with the really powerful Katana melee. Of course, that's augmented by the Berserker skill, allowing us when we get very low to quickly regenerate because we do so much more damage to the enemies. The final skill, and where the real counterplay comes within this perk deck, is Showdown. It makes you so strong against all the standard enemies within the map, so you're looking at regular greens and green and tans. Even the whites found on Death Wish are susceptible to this. When you kill an enemy at medium range, there is a 75% chance to spread panic among your enemies, essentially knocking them down, stopping them from firing at you, and making you pretty damn invincible for the time. It makes the shotgun more viable, it makes melee more viable. Even at close range when holding down corridors with the LMG, you shoot that first guy, the rest of them are almost guaranteed to go into panic and being easy pickings. The point is, with the LMG, you're always going to be able to mow down groups. You don't have a problem when it comes to DPS. What you do have a problem with is survivability. So when you start mowing, the problem that can occur is you get mowed at back and you get taken down. With Showdown, that's not going to happen. There's going to be no return of fire once that first enemy hits the ground. That's one of the reasons why I love the Sociopath perk deck for this particular build. So let's take a break from the gameplay to take a detailed look at the weapons used in this build. Starting off with the Buzzsaw 42, in my opinion, the most powerful LMG in the game. The main use of this weapon really is the counterplay against bulldozers and the incredibly strong application firing into groups. Now, of the non-special weapons, there are 3 particularly good categories of weapon that are good against bulldozers. You've got, probably in first place, the Thanatos, in second, the minigun, and I would say the LMGs, notably the Buzzsaw. This thing has crazy fast fire rate, will burn through the faceplate very quickly, and will make killing them very, very easy, as long as you play it properly. Of course, with the addition of the bipod, the most important attachment on this weapon, you can actually take out bulldozers from a little bit of range, which was previously not an option. The main focus, though, with your attachments is to keep that stability and accuracy as high as possible, though keep in mind when you've got the bipod down, it doesn't really matter. So really what we're focusing on is getting damage over 40. We can afford to take the light barrel here and drop just a single point of damage because you'll see I grab 4 points additional damage through the funnel of Fun Nozzle. And that gives me 40.9 damage, 1200 rate of fire, 563 ammo thanks to fully loaded, and a mag size of 150, which admittedly you will burn through very quickly, but thanks to Bullet Storm, shouldn't be too much of a problem. Moving on to our secondary, this is my standard Locomotive 12 gauge shotgun. Not going to show you all the attachments on there, it does have the beautiful fleur-de-lis camo on it. I choose to run no ammo type. You could potentially, this weapon's ammo pickup is naturally really good, and of course high explosives are very good against shields, but really we're looking to use this as a kill weapon, not a utility weapon, and we already have great counterplay against those pesky shields. So the main attachments I'm going to point out to you are of course the extended mag and the shell rack. This is going to give it 10 in the magazine, and that's going to make it much more efficient in terms of having to reload less frequently and take out groups of enemies. So those are the 2 weapons we run. Both have counterplay of their own, Locomotive being the dream close range secondary, and the Buzzsaw having great application against bulldozers and crowds. That's why I choose to run those 2 particular weapons. So before we end this up, let's get back to some gameplay and look at the final weapons, the melee and of course the throwable. The melee in this build is actually very important. Usually it's a bit of a throwaway addition, but the Shinsakuto Katana is probably the best melee weapon in the game right now. And when you're not focused on concealment, it is just what you should bring at all times. It has over 100 damage, sitting at 105 total with the skills that I've already shown you. And if you choose to take those 4 seconds to charge it up, that gives it 675 damage. 1013 knockdown with 158 base knockdown as well. The stats on this weapon are absolutely ridiculous, and the real icing on the cake is the really high swing speed and pretty damn good range. This weapon is basically imbalanced when compared to the other melees, and it sets the standard. Definitely the melee you need to pick up, and of course this build itself does have some melee usage, also being able to knock back shields and regenerate a bit of health on kill. Finally, the throwable is the Molotov cocktail. You already have a lot of good crowd control, and there is some argument for maybe bringing explosives to be a little stronger against bulldozers, but I still prefer the Molotov. It lets you hold down areas behind you while you set up with the bipod and shoot in one direction, because of course the massive downside of the bipod is you only have maybe a 60-degree field of turning view, so you do have to be able to watch your back, and the Molotov being staying there for a while on the floor and causing a pool of constant damage is perfect for covering those angles you can't with your weapon. So that's it for the build. You should see in the gameplay, which is hopefully reasonably exciting, that this weapon is overkill ready, and it is actually Deathwish applicable, though generally on Deathwish I prefer the dodge builds. This one does work really well, and you're going to find it works best on missions where you have to hold down areas. The mission I found that it really was the best for Maybe First World Bank doing the overly drill achievement. That's certainly some pretty good application. But Hotline Miami Day 2, it was just perfect for keeping those enemies at bay when defending the drill. So guys, that is it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you'll try this one out. It's a little different to my usual builds. It draws together some of my favourite gameplay elements of other builds, like the minigun, being able to shoot basically infinitely with Bullet Storm, and of course the melee application with the katana and sociopath. So this is actually one of my favourite builds to run right now. If only you could run as quickly as you did with a suit, that would really make this the perfect build. Alas, not to be. Instead, guys, you're going to have to run this as a heavily armoured tank, standing in the front line and taking shots for your teammates. That's it, guys. See you all in the next one. Hopefully, I'll be able to bring you guys some more entertaining gameplay in the future. Sadly, Lab Rat isn't to be, but there will be some more achievement guides as I work on some of the recent achievements added during Crime Fest. Oh yeah, and I did promise the real bobblehead Skulldozer giveaway. That will happen. I know it's a little late, but let's wait until we finally get into those completely overkill patch safes before I announce the details of that giveaway to you guys. Thanks for watching. See you all next one.